You are listening to the I Choose My Best Life podcast with Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, a show that is dedicated to helping you live fully, love boldly, and rest intentionally. For additional resources, visit ichoosemybestlife.com.
Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be truly seen and deeply loved, to be able to step into the fullness of your identity, the parts of you that you know and the parts of you you have yet to experience? In my new book, Being Fully Known, The Joyful Satisfaction of Beholding, Becoming, and Belonging, we dive deep into these topics. It's an invitation to experience just that, the joy of finding out who God says you are that maybe you haven't recognized yet. Maybe He felt the Holy Spirit speaking to some part of your heart about something and you're thinking, I couldn't possibly do that. Well, in this book, we are going to dive deep into your I could nevers. We're going to take a look at the parts of your identity that maybe have been shut down because of fear, maybe have been shut down because of things other people said, and maybe because of things you said to yourself. It's a journey into the kind of love that changes everything, the kind of love that only can be experienced when you behold God in the fullness of who He is and allows what you behold to become a part of who you are becoming. You can find a copy wherever books are sold, including Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, as well as Target and some other retailers. When you purchase early, you get a lot of great pre-order gifts. So be sure to get your copy now. Hello, this is Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, and you are listening to I Choose My Best Life. Today, on this beautiful Christmas morning, we're going to be focusing on one of the most profound names of God, Emmanuel. It simply means God with us. And it's a promise that carries hope, peace, and joy, no matter where you find yourself this holiday season. Whether you are currently surrounded by family and friends or spending the day quietly reflecting, my prayer is that today's episode reminds you that you are never alone. Let's explore the power of Emmanuel, God with us, and how choosing to embrace His presence can transform our lives this Christmas and throughout the upcoming new year. I want us to just start with thinking about, what does Emmanuel mean to each of us individually? Let's begin by unpacking that name. And let's start in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23, where we read, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. See, this name is not just about God sending Jesus, sending us help from heaven. He came and actually dwelt among us. He came and stepped into our messiness, into our human experience, into all of the stuff that this life brings to show us the depth of God's love and to bring us into a closer relationship with Him. So this Christmas, as you are sitting around your Christmas tree, opening presents and sipping on hot chocolate and having all the yummy goodness that you're cooking up, let's take a moment just to celebrate the birth of Jesus. He is the greatest gift of all gifts, and He's also a gift that has to be opened, just like those that are under your Christmas tree. As near as He is, as near as Emmanuel is to us, and the way He wants to dwell with us, so requires us to have a part where we have to accept this gift and accept the nearness and the closeness of God. I want to ask, what does Emmanuel mean to you? How does the truth of God's presence impact the way you approach life, not just at Christmas time, but really throughout the year? When you're in moments of difficulty and change, when things aren't going the way you anticipated, when life is throwing curveballs at you and the unexpected happens, what does Emmanuel mean to you? I know a lot of us this holiday have spent time buying gifts, wrapping presents, and maybe you spent most of the past couple of days cooking up things, or maybe you're traveling to get to different locations. The holidays can be full of joy, but they can also be very overwhelming. And they can also be times of sorrow, especially if you have loved ones who have gone on and passed over the past year, or even maybe years ago, and you still feel the whole of that loss within your family. Maybe things aren't the same after COVID. Maybe things never fully recovered, and you're still handling those feelings and those emotions, even in the midst of this joyful lights and all of the festivities and all the things, from our family gatherings to all the things on our to-do list. It's just really easy to lose sight of the reason that we're celebrating. When we choose Emmanuel in the middle of our busyness, when we choose Emmanuel in the middle of the festivities, when we choose Emmanuel even in the middle of the sorrow and the grieving, it means intentionally making room for God's presence in the midst of those situations. It's choosing to pause, to reflect, to remember that Jesus came to offer us peace. He didn't come to offer us the pressures of the holiday season. He didn't come to offer us the striving of getting the perfect gift for someone. He didn't come to us to add the pressures to cooking all the things that everyone loves to eat. It's an opportunity to pause and reflect and to step into the peace of the nearness of God, even when we are doing those things. I know for myself, I love cooking all that stuff up for my family. I love the look on my kids' face when I make my spice cake that I make every Christmas, and they only get once a year. I love that. And so I don't consider it a chore. But I have found that if I approach it as something that I have to do, and I don't allow God and the opportunity to experience his presence in the doing, then I lose some of the joy of the experience. And so even as you are going throughout your Christmas day and doing all the things, intentionally invite God into it. Here are a couple of ways you can do that today. So, number one, take some time just to pause and reflect on his presence. Maybe you, before the kids get up and come down the stairs, or maybe you, before you start the cooking and doing all the stuff you have to do to prepare for people to visit, just take a moment to sit quietly and thank God for being with you right where you're at, right? No matter what's going on in your life, just realizing that his presence is there, that Emmanuel is with you. Maybe take a moment to just speak his name over your circumstances. Maybe that'll be the second way you can step forward with choosing Emmanuel today. Whether you are feeling happy or sad, whether you're in the middle of the best year of 2024 and you're like, wow, what a fantastic year. Or you're like, Lord, let it come to an end. I'm ready for the next one. Speak his name over your situation. Speak Emmanuel over that situation, that God is near in those circumstances. Regardless of what those circumstances are, reminding yourself even verbally that he is near. And third, taking a time to just extend his presence to others, reminding people today that Emmanuel, God is with them. Call up a loved one. Maybe you have a friend who you know is struggling at this time of the year. Maybe they had something horrible happen and they're not a fan of Christmas anymore. And they need to know that God is with them as well. Maybe you have a neighbor next door who lost a spouse. Maybe there's a widow in your neighborhood. Maybe there's a family that had a hardship that happened and their Christmas is going to be sparse. And maybe extending his presence to them today looks like dropping off a cake or taking a meal to someone, or just showing up to spend a couple of minutes to sit on someone's couch and just be present. It doesn't have to be something that this grandiose type issue where you're going to make this big display and production of it. It's just loving people. That's really what choosing Emmanuel is all about. It's what God did. He loved us well through the person of Jesus. And so we can love people well through a similar response, by being present for them, by dwelling with them in whatever situations they're in, and bringing some of that love and light of the Lord into that situation as well. See, I want to share a little bit of a personal story also about Christmas and the truth of Emmanuel in my own life. As someone who, many of you have come into my work through my book, Sacred Rest, and my work around the 7 types of rest, I have to just admit it is constantly something that God is working with me on. I often say that God gave me this area of compassion really towards people and this desire to educate people on this particular topic simply because it's a topic that I struggle with so desperately. I am a workaholic. I love work. I love staying busy. I love doing stuff. I was telling my husband not too long ago, I bore very easily. I like change and I like to have different things going on. And so I have to be consistently reminded of the need to pause and the need to reflect and the need to set healthy boundaries and the need to rest in all of those 7 areas. And so for me, a big part of Emmanuel is the reminder that in the dwelling with us, there is a purpose to the pausing. And for myself, I'm consistently pulling back each month. I set aside time and opportunities each month to do this, to pull away, to purposely pause with God, and to find Emmanuel within that month. Where are you dwelling this month with me, God? What are you showing me, Holy Spirit? Where are you extending my knowledge of who you are? Where are you broadening my experience of my relationship with you? And it's been a beautiful journey. It's been one that has helped me to find a way to settle my unsettledness as a kind of type A type personality who loves all the things and continuously movement and all of that. It brings a peace to it, a quiet spirit to it where I can be at peace without having all of the striving and the pressure of it and just enjoy the adventure of life with God, the adventure of seeing where he wants to go, what he wants to reveal, what's next without the pressure of trying to produce always. I think for myself, that has been the biggest revelation over the past 12 months, I would probably say, is that productivity is something that we evaluate in a very specific way with our checklists and our goals and our ROIs, our metrics. And those of us who are very scientific, we have specific ways that we evaluate productivity. And over this past 12 months, I think what I've learned and something that has really just helped me greatly is seeing that productivity is a big part of it for myself, is the productivity of Holy Spirit growing inside of me, of the knowledge of God expanding within me. And so as we close, I just want to take a moment to pray and just to release a blessing over you this Christmas. So Lord, thank you. Thank you for being Emmanuel. Thank you for being God with us. On this Christmas day, we celebrate your love, your presence, and the hope that you brought us through the life of Jesus. Help us to choose you above all else, to welcome you into our hearts and our lives and within our days and our calendars and our schedules. May your peace fill our homes this year, and may your joy be a light to every heart today. Father, I ask that you step into the midst of every situation and help those who are listening to feel closer to you simply because they took a moment to pause today and to choose Emmanuel. Remember, you can choose Emmanuel not just for today on Christmas Day, but you can choose him every day and live with the reality of his presence ever dwelling in your life. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of I Choose My Best Life. Merry Christmas, and I pray that the presence of God bring you peace, hope, and joy today and throughout this upcoming new year. If this episode and if this podcast has been a blessing to you, please share it with someone who needs encouragement this Christmas, as well as don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you can get some upcoming episodes, as well as visit the website at ichoosemybestlife.com so that you can learn more about the things that are going on in my world. So Merry Christmas, my friends. Until next time, I'm Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, reminding you to live fully, love boldly, and rest intentionally.